consensus.
Hello everybody, my name is Christian Cholo. Welcome to your market report. Today we're Thursday, July 11. Today folks, I want to talk to you about a movement and the gold sector after the FOMC announcement, because Bernanke, what he said is that the loose monetary policies are going to continue, and that has actually created a wave of buyers into the gold, but also into the home builders, because when Bernanke said that is going to keep the loose monetary policies, while those home builders are going to continue to have access to cheap financing, cheap interest rate, and that will allow the real estate sector to continue its strong performance. So I'm going to show you a movement in the gold and a movement in the home builders. So on the TSX, actually, this is a situation where we are right now. We're actually continuing the bullish cycle. The gold sector has actually contributed a lot to that increase. There are a couple of breakouts in the gold sector. So it's official. The gold right now is clearly, well, I should say starting a bullish cycle, but still the long-term downward trend is still maintained. So we have some potential until we reach that downward trend around 129. So it's a breakout in GLD, but the potential is actually until that downward trend. So what we try to favor are actually some stocks that have some potential until they reach their downward trend, and stocks that at least have a volume right now that is around their usual volume average. For instance, let's take a look at, for instance, the gold sector. So from here to there, this is actually the cycle that we had from the top of the gold sector. Now if you take a look at this from that cycle here, usually around this area, that's where we had a bottom, right? Technically speaking. But that bottom didn't happen, went even lower. And now we're going lower. We're reaching right now the low of this new downward corridor. But the thing is, the stochastics are showing us that we're making a higher bottom. So that's a sign that here, actually, there's more buyers who are getting in. They're finding at this price that the gold is really cheap, and at least we can make a cycle until we reach that downward trend. So there's some potential here on the gold sector. So in terms of the stocks that we try to favor, as I've been telling you, are stocks that, first of all, have some potential, at least of 5% before they reach their downward trend, and where volumes are around average. So a stock like Eldorado Gold is a perfect example of that. So yes, there's a downward trend on Eldorado Gold, but if we take a look at the volumes here, volumes are around average, right? And this is a clear breakout, but from that breakout to that point here at 771, there's at least 5%. So that's why Eldorado Gold would fit a criteria of a stock that we would buy. Semafo, same scenario. Yes, there's a downward trend. Yes, it's a breakout. Yes, volumes actually around average on Semafo. And from that point, 169 to 199, there's at least 14% on Semafo. So that's a stock we would favor to buy. But a stock like KINROSS Gold, okay, it's actually leaving its oversold situation, but there's that resistance that is over there at 549. And from that point here, we can consider this as a breakout within this big neutral range from there to there. But from that breakout until that resistance here, there's not even 5%. And also at this point here, that's where the stock would reach its downward trend. So that stock will not fit the criteria, and volumes are also decreasing. Another one, AGNICO Eagle. On the long-term basis, you see the stock has not yet reversed its downward trend, which is okay. But volumes actually, they're okay. But the potential from that breakout to that downward trend is not even 5%. So we might even test that downward trend tomorrow and even go down if the upward cycle continues. So that actually the type of stock that we would avoid. AGNICO Eagle and KINROSS Gold, because they don't fit the criteria of a stock like Semafo, which has some potential until it reaches its downward trend, and just like Eldorado Gold, which has some potential, at least of 5% before it reaches its downward trend. Now this is a strategy for the gold stocks. Now let's turn to the home construction. Actually, the ETF, the vector is totally reversing its downward trend. So there are several breakouts in that sector. As I said, with the loose monetary policies, with the interest rate that's going to remain low, home builders are going to continue to get access to cheap financing. In terms of the best breakout that we found in that sector are, first of all, Beazer Home. because look at that for Beazer Home. We think that the stock has some potential to reach the top of its upward corridor. So Beazer Home, it's a go. It's clearly breaking that side formation. We might expect the first pause around 20 bucks on Beazer Homes, but I think it's still it's more than 5% on Beazer Homes. PULTEGROUP also, what we liked about it is that the stock is rebounding after testing a multiple support, and every time we tested a support we had actually a nice cycle. It happened here, it happened there, and now that might be the point here for PULTEGROUP. And same thing for Toll Brothers. That stock is also in a clear breakout, but I would prefer PULTEGROUP because it's more volatile as compared to Toll Brothers, which is a little bit less volatile, but it's clearly breaking out, clearly reversing its downward trend, so it's still an entry point. Actually, in our analyst choice portfolio on marketgurus.tv that you can have access for free for 10 days, we did recommend PULTEGROUP as one of our best pick in the home builders, and also on the gold we recommended Eldorado Gold and Semaphore in our analyst choice portfolio on marketgurus.tv that you can have access for free for 10 days. So this is it. This is our market report. My name is Christian Charlo. See you next week for your market report.